Hey guys, my name is Lilly and today I want to give you a short introduction to archery. But before we take a look on the methods on how to shoot a bow, I first want to give you a couple of safety tips. Never walk up to the arrows in a straight line. If you fall, you can fall with your eye into the nock of the arrow. If you want to retrieve the arrows, make sure that you do it on the side. So you want to step one step to the side and then you want to come up to the arrows from the side. Next, when drawing the arrow, make sure that you do it in a straight fashion. You don't want to bend the arrow to the side. Also, you want to make sure that nobody stands behind you because you don't want to hurt them with the nock of the arrow. When the arrow drops off the shelf, a lot of people are using their finger to press the arrow against the window, but this is wrong. You should not do that. Because in that case, you could pull a hunting tip into your finger, which would slice open your entire finger down to the bone. If you hit a stone with your arrow, you need to inspect the arrow before you are going to use it again. If the arrow is damaged like this one here, it would be very, very dangerous to use it again, because with the second shot it could explode and hit your hand or your arm. A lot of beginners are drawing the bow like this. But this is actually something you shouldn't do, because if you are drawing the bow in a 45 degrees angle towards the sky, you are risking to hitting somebody in the background if you let go of the arrow by accident. So make sure that you're either drawing the bow like this in a straight fashion, horizontal, or if you want to do a high draw, you can do it, but you also have to raise your right arm like this. Okay, this way the arrow is always horizontal and you don't risk shooting anybody in the background by drawing the bow like that. Never walk with the arrows inside of your hand. If you're falling down, you risk falling into the arrows. So always make sure that you put the arrows safe into your quiver, and this is where they belong. Alright, so these are the things that you shouldn't do with a bow, so make sure that you always stay safe on the archery range and that you don't hurt yourself or other people. But now let's take a look on how to shoot a bow. So first of all, you need to find out if you want to draw the bow with the right hand or with the left hand. Most right-handed people are also right drawing archers, but it really depends on what you like better. Also it depends on your dominant eye. So my dominant eye is, for example, the right eye, and this is what I'm using to aim with the bow. So after you've determined if you're a right or left-handed archer, you need to get the right bow. So this, for example, is a right-handed bow because I'm drawing the string with the right hand. Alright, next, you want to take your arrow and put it on the shelf. You knock it underneath the knock point here, and the odd feather, which is the leading feather, is looking left. So now you got to decide on how you want to draw the bow. You can draw it with 3 fingers underneath the arrow, or you can draw it 1 finger above the arrow and 2 fingers below the arrow. Okay, then next, it's very important that you want to anchor in your face. So unless you are riding a horse and doing some horsebow shooting, or running around in the forest like running archery or fast archery where you just let go of the arrow quickly, you really want to anchor. Okay, so sometimes I see people, they just shoot from the air, but this way you never are going to be accurate. So you really want to anchor at a fixed point in your face. So you don't want to change your anchor by anchoring here or here or here. You always want to have the same anchor. Now I want to show you my anchor. There are a couple of different ones. So I'm anchoring with this part here, in between the fingers. There's a little bit of a cavity, and this cavity is exactly that I push into the jawbone here at the side. Okay, there's this small, yeah, angle here, and this is where I anchor with my hand. Okay, so this is a really firm and tight anchor because I can hook in the hand, right? So I'm not moving around, I'm always anchoring at the same spot. But what you also can do is you can do a high anchor, which is anchoring up here. So you can anchor up here. This has the advantage that you are closer to the arrow with your eye, but this also has a disadvantage, which is that this part is not really like a hook here, so you can accidentally move around if you have a strong bow. Both methods are correct, so you are not wrong using either of the methods. The next thing that you have to decide is how you want to hold the bow. Do you want to hold it straight or to the side? Both of the methods are correct, so it's really personal preference. Also, you need to decide if you are holding the bow like this or in a 45-degree angle. Let me take off the glove so you can see it better. So you can hold it like this. This is how I am shooting the bow. Okay? But also what some archers are doing is you can hold it like this. Like this. It's a 45 degrees angle of the hand. So if you like that, you can do that. But I'm holding the bow like this. Also, it's very important that you're not pressing the bow too much with your hand, so you don't want to have a really tight grip, because if you are gripping the bow, making a fist, then you will shake and then you will not hit the target. So you want to hold the bow very lightly, actually. Just a normal grip, not too hard. Next, you need to decide if you want to draw the bow like this. This is a standard draw. Or if you want to do a high draw, which is sometimes easier for the right shoulder. So if you want to do a high draw, you go up like this and then you come down in the right position. The thing is that you always want to have your right elbow up. This is very important. Also, when I'm drawing the bow, I'm drawing it so that the bowstring runs right over my eye, and then it's going to look like this here. Okay? And the bowstring is going to get really thick, and then you're going to let it run down on the window here of the side. So you always want to shoot the bow the same way, otherwise if you shoot it once like this or like that, then you will make mistakes. So you can use the bowstring. It's a little bit as if you're shooting a rifle with iron sights. So these are your iron sights here, and this is a little bit of an iron sight. So if you're aiming with the bow correctly and if you have the bowstring in the right position, the arrow will go exactly where the window ends. So this line here is a little bit like the vertical line of a scope on a rifle. If you don't want to use that, it's also fine. You can also aim over the arrow, just as if you are aiming over a barrel. Also, you never want to shoot the bow without an arrow, because then all of the energy transfers into the limbs, and then the limbs can break, and you can risk that the limbs are hurting your face, for example. So always make sure that the arrow is knocked in correctly. Yeah, next. Now we want to shoot a couple of arrows, and I want to show you my release. So first you're aiming, and then when you're ready to shoot, you want to release the arrow. But you don't want to do this, okay? Because this is very hard to do it the same every time. You just want to pull through, and while you're pulling through, you want to open up the hand, and then you want to rest the hand on the shoulder here or here, somewhere in this area. And this is very important that you're doing this, because actually you're more accurate if you are drawing back in the line of the arrow. At the same time, I'm pressing the arrow into the target with my left arm. So I'm creating this line, this imaginary line along the arrow, which is going to push the arrow into the right direction. If you have a release which is not that clean, it can happen that, for example, if you pick the string to the side, that it will throw the arrow to the side, and then the arrow will fly like this into the target. So this is not a good method, so always make sure that you are releasing the bowstring to the back side. Also, you need to take a look at your stance. So when this is my target, I want to stand exactly in a 90 degrees angle to the target. If you are standing like this here and shooting the bow, it's also possible, but this way you are blocking yourself because you cannot draw the arrow full way. Then you also could shoot the bow like this, but this is not the standard stance. And then you could shoot the bow all the way back, like so. But this is also a little bit unstable, but you still can practice this stance if you want to. So it's not too bad if you can shoot like this. So these are the stances that you can learn. Some people also bend forward. It's really hard to shoot like this if you are holding the bow straight, so then you should also maybe angle the bow, but I'm not used to it. So this one was down and to the right. The most important thing is that you're standing like this, or like that actually, shoulder width, and you want to stay like this. You don't want to bend to this side or to the other side. You don't want to lean in like this, okay? You just want to be in your center, and then when you're drawing the bow, it doesn't change you. Alright, so this last arrow was from the weird stance, bending forward. That's something I'm not used to. I cannot shoot like this, but other archers can. Okay, that's a pretty good grouping at 10 meters. One was a little bit high, but that's okay. So I'm happy with this distance. Now let's move on to the next one. So here you can notice that the arrow is already falling down. And this is a really good beginner's bow. I can recommend it for women and children. And right now I'm shooting it because actually I have a shoulder injury and I cannot shoot more than 18 pounds right now. So even this weight I can feel here, and that really sucks. And I already have this injury for 3 months now. And injuries, unfortunately, are common in archery, especially. It happens when people, they are too eager to increase weight, and then they are hurting themselves, and then it takes a long time to heal. So always make sure that you start at a low poundage, and then you want to train for half a year. Why 6 months? 6 months is a long time, you might think. And some people say, hey, the muscle is growing much faster. Maybe in 2 months you could already pull the next weight. But the problem is that the tendons are not growing that fast. The tendons actually need about half a year until they grow and get firm. And this is why it takes 6 months until you can move on to the next higher poundage. Okay, so this was 15 meters. I have to say I'm really happy about the grouping. And now I'm going to move on to 20 meters. Alright, so this was 20 meters. The first two were too low, but still it's a very good grouping.